Welcome everybody to the third Ground Star Zoom call. We've had a slight change of plan today. Certainly Mr. McNair was due to appear. Yeah, you lucky people. We had two non-runners that I will tell you about another time, but stepping into the breach, Mr. Rosney and Mr. Boothby. To a certain extent, we're now sort of flying by the seat of our pants because I did have a few things prepared. God help us, we've got Rab on here anyway, so this could go badly wrong. But we'll kick off. I think the obvious place to start, in view of recent discussions, the fact that apparently I wasn't told, but I read that Nottingham are also now in the running for next year's derby, and personally, I think it can only be good, along with Central Park as well, that we have three tracks that are going to be pushed. I think the last thing that anybody needs is one track that can sit on its laurels and go, do you know what, we'll put on the bare minimum or we'll make the bare effort because there's nobody else to take us on. So I genuinely believe that as a sport we benefit from this. The strongest, if the tracks have to compete, have to come up with good prize money, good facilities, good benefits for the owners. It can only be in everybody's best interest. So Kevin, I think from the very beginning, it was always in your heart that you wanted to try to get the derby back to Towcester if possible. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from day one, when I've been at Towcester 13 months now, and obviously from day one, I've always wanted to get the derby. That's why we had to start by getting the track sorted. I like to think we've got the track sorted now and it's running really well. So obviously it's important now we go to the next level and get the derby. I mean, as regards to the best of your ability, for us, we're fortunate. We've got the facilities, we've got the land. One thing for sure, we'll definitely get the prize money in place to be worthy of a derby, and I'm very excited about it. And you know, we're going to put in a very good application. And to me, we tick all the boxes. And I love the challenges on the derby. You know, we can hold 9,500 people on site for the derby final itself. On top of that, obviously, we're doing the camping site and the Ledford Park. So from April, that'll open. So the derby weekend, we're about to host 2,000 people living on site, enjoying the derby experience. You know, and we've got plans as well on the Saturday morning or dinner time up the straight racing, up the horse track. You know, I've got a couple of bookmakers wanting to put money up for drag racing or whatever. I think it'd be a great spectacle. And not only am I confident of bringing in new people into the sport, but the people who's in the sport now, like your Pat and your Rab, will get more excited about it and want to train good dogs and go for big comps. And that's where we need to be as a sport. If we don't have a vision, we'll never go forward. And for me, I'm all over it. I love open racing, and to stage the best race in the country, I'm all over it, definitely.
Obviously, you two both as well. I say trainer and kennel boy. I know, Pat, you've had a lot of success at Nottingham. You've enjoyed racing there. I don't think for 1 second you're going to have anything sort of bad to say about the place. Have you been to Towcester since the Kevin put the new track in?
No, I haven't, and I really enjoyed the two derbies at Towcester. I think it's a fantastic venue. The problem that I felt, as everybody knows really, was that the track wasn't right, and heavily favoured railers, and it just weren't right. I haven't seen it since Kevin's been in, but from what I hear, I believe he's made really good improvements and that kind of thing. As a venue, it's a cracking venue. There's no getting away from it. Good facilities, if not better than anywhere in the country. And yeah, it's, you know, I suppose it's all about the package now, and just hope that it's the track is a lot better than it were. The problem you get with the tracks, and it's happened at Nottingham as well, I think, is that people start seeding, you know, to suit the track and what they feel suits any individual track, not. And then since the derby's finished at Nottingham, you've seen dogs go off and they're running different seeds at different tracks, and there's too much of it going on. We need a track where people can be confident that they can seed their dog where he wants to be, without being at a disadvantage.
Rab, what's your view on that?
And that's, listen, what Pat's talking is pure common sense. I mean, we've all been to all different tracks, and we all look at the situation we're running that track, and we try. I'm not saying we cheat, because we don't cheat, and I'm not saying we ever try and put dogs into a situation that it doesn't want to be in. But I will agree with Pat that there's dogs comes in there and they're seeded rails, and we've seen it in this year's Derby too. We've seen dogs seeded rails and then changing and moving out and all the rest of it. So probably I've done it in places too, thinking that it was the best chance for my dog because it didn't suit the wides and all the rest of it. But when you've got pure wides, and you've got to go that way. But the one thing that Pat did say there, and I would back him up to the hilt on this, that we need a venue that is not just for us as trainers, but us as trainers want the best for our greyhounds, and we want the best track for our greyhounds. We want a good, fair track with a good run to the corner, and it doesn't matter whether you're wide, middle, or rails. They can get the run to the corner, and they can go about their business. If they don't make it, it wasn't down to the track, or been seeded wide, or been seeded rails, or whatever. But the other and the most important thing is for the owners, because these owners, year after year, are the boys that are putting their hands in their pockets. It doesn't matter whether it's Pat Rosney's owners going and buying greyhounds, or me, my owners, the breeding programme. That doesn't matter, because it's all an expensive game. But when you've got the right tool, you want to be able to walk in there, and if he is a railer, you want to be able to say, this dog's rails. Or if he is a wide runner, you want to be able to get in there with the same confidence and see them wide. And that's it. End of story at that.
Is the problem though, and this is something, I mean, I as you probably know, I was a kennel boy at White City at 16, so I saw the remnants of GRA when they treated trainers like I don't know, like low life. And I'm not saying Bob Rowe, because he was racer manager at the time, but there was certainly an idea within GRA that basically trainers' opinions didn't matter. I now wonder if it's gone too far, whereby we do need stronger racing managers to say to trainers, I'm sorry, but you're seeding that dog on the basis of risk assessment, that you're seeding it as a railer because you don't want track 5. But the reality is it's a middle seed. I mean, there's an argument, I think, that says all dogs are middle seeds unless they are proven to be wide runners or railers. And that would certainly, present a situation where we have certain dogs, I'm sure you've got them at Henlow and at Toaster, Kevin, where the race manager will only ever put them in track 1 in graded races because they absolutely need track 1. Most of the others, it's kind of an advantage to be drawn on the inside. Is it have trainers sort of pushed their luck too far, and do we need stronger racing managers who stand up to trainers and go, no, you're not having that seat unless you give me a good solo trial and convince me that that dog is genuinely a railer or genuinely a wide runner? You're going with what's on his card at the moment.
I think for me with a rail seed, we need to have in the sport a tight rail seed, because a lot of dogs ain't railers, but a lot of dogs are tight rail who will absolutely ping out and go to that rail. Them dogs should be put in one, and a lot of dogs that are drawn to rails should be, so we should have different seeds really. You should have a tight rail seed and a rail seed, but obviously we're stuck with rails, middle and wide, and that's why we have the mess we have, to be fair. But yeah, going back to combat racing managers do need to step up to the mark and be strong, especially when you've got big events like the Derby. But it's easier said than done though, Floyd, because every trainer seems to want the dog as a rider. And a lot of times we see these dogs and think, well, that's not a rider, it's going to move off. But sometimes you get it wrong. I mean, a dog, we entered for the Derby, we see it in rails, got it targeted wrong, we should have put it middle. And sometimes dogs change the running style from Ireland to England. But it's about having the racing managers, you know, on the ball. And it's important to see these dogs trial and make notes and get them in the right boxes to make it a fair and reasonable playing field for everybody.
If you need a change of seeding, though, should you be made to trial a dog? If you say, you know, as I said, if you assume that all dogs are middle, and then you want a wide seed, you should have to be proved that you're a wide.
Well, it's not rocket science to see that, is it? If you put a dog in a box and you can film it head on, you'll see where it goes down boxes. So it's not rocket science to realise if it's a rather a middle or wide. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, but most dogs don't get that, do they? Come on, Pat. What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of the problems I feel as well, trainers go trialing dogs before events, and they keep putting them in trap 3s and trap 4s, and you know, especially out of the straight front hydraulic boxes, trying to get fast times, ping brakes and that, and trying to get fast times on the card and this kind of thing. And then they go and seed them rails. They put them in middle boxes and then go and seed them rails. If you're going to ring up for a trial for a dog for a competition, and why can't the racing manager say to you, where do you intend seeding this dog? And if you say rails, say, right, okay, well, I want that dog to trial from trap 1 then, because I want to see what he does from trap 1.
Right, apologies there. We appear to have a slight technical hitch. Mr. McNair is blaming Telecom in the southeast, but make your own minds up. So I can't even remember where we were. Was it Pat? You were, as I recall, you were talking about the trainers trialing dogs from the wrong traps.
Well, yeah. If you're going to seed a dog for a competition, rails, trial it from the rails. Don't trial it from the middle, you know, and racing managers need to insist on this, and so that they can see what they do. It's a bit late when you get in the competition and you're running from the inside after trialing him from the middle. And then you see them scooting off at the bends or turning right straight from the boxes, and you know, so racing managers have got to, they've got to step up, you know, and even these seeding panels, you know, what did they do this year? You know, they must have had a few days off, you know, because the amount of dogs that were badly seeded there this year, I just don't get it. Kevin said something before there, you know, that it's not rocket science, and it ain't rocket science. It's common sense, most of it.
I think the other problem is though with it all, because I mean, I'm speaking from an owner's perspective, that if you got a dog, yeah, he's not ideal in by the rails. He's a middle runner, but then you think, I don't want to seed him middle because he might get sick because everybody's seeding the dog rails. That's the other big problem what's caused by all this, by people not seeding the dog properly, that when you have got a genuine middle runner, you want to put it rails, Floyd, because you don't want 6, but you'd rather have 3. Do you know what I mean? 3 or 4. So that's the other problem we get as well.
Well, I don't think it's right that we should be seeding dogs rails to try and get a middle box. I don't think that's right.
No.
You should be seeding rails, hoping to get a rails box, not seeding rails to hope to get a middle box.
Yeah.
I don't think that's right, personally.
Yeah.
If everybody seeded the dogs properly, then we'd have a lot more middles and a lot more wides running. So the middles will get their middle draw.
So surely the answer to all of that, sorry, Pat, surely the answer to all of that is to take the power away from the trainers, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are doing this. I mean, I had a chat the other day with Peter O'Dowd, who of course was on the seeding panel, and he kind of told me a few bits and pieces, and I'm not going to name names, but trainers who had tactically seeded or attempted to seed, and they were told right at the beginning, you're not going to get away with that. You know, there were trainers going, we're a railer, and it was quite clear that their dogs, or I'm particularly one trainer in particular, quite clear his dogs were middle seeds, and they simply said no. And in the end, he said, well, you know, fair enough, fair cop kind of thing. But that's something that trainers have always done. I mean, I remember Bob Rowe at White City had to stop trainers seeding wide at White City because they would see it. the Irish trainers in particular were noted for it because the English dogs were more exposed and known, and the trainers couldn't get away with it. It's not an anti-Irish issue. They were seeding wide runners, fast breaking wide runners as railers, simply hoping to cut across the field at the first bend with no banking. So in those days, the race manager did seize the initiative. Do we need to get back to that stage again? Because trainers won't like it.
See, when the Derby was run at Wimbledon a few years ago, we didn't have a shortage of wides then because Wimbledon suited the wide, so people were happy to see their wides wide. Now they're not, you know, and so I was never, you know, really one that wanted this, but I'm beginning to think that the seed should be on the dog. So when you enter your dog, you don't need to seed it. It's already on his cardage. So when the racing manager calls it up, the seeding is already there.
Definitely so.
It's going to stop all this changing it from, you know, I'm rails here, but I'm middle there, and I'm back to rails when I go here. You know, it's utter rubbish. And the dogs who genuinely want the inside can't get them traps, because there's dogs there who want to be drawn in 3 and things like this, and they've been, I wouldn't say fortunate enough to get to draw 1 or anything like that, and that just ruins races, just totally ruins races. And I suppose bookies are happy enough for it to happen because it brings up 3 results, you know.